Hey, let's talk about some action figures. So, I heard you like He-Man. Well, good news. We've got He-Man at home. Yes, if you're not familiar, you're going to have to just take my word for it that this is in fact He-Man, the most powerful man in the universe, I guess. So, today we're looking at the action figures for the new adventures of He-Man, or at least the ones that I have, because these figures tend to be a little hard to come by. We'll talk about that as we go along, I guess. The reason why we're doing this is because over on the main channel, link will be... That's very close. Link will be up there in the corner. I did a review of the cartoon, so be sure to go check that out. It came out very well, actually, considering all the delays that I've had to go through with health and personal issues. But, yeah, people seem to like it, which is good. He-Man dropped a shield. And, usually I like to do a video on this channel talking about toys related to something I reviewed on the main channel, but, yeah, I'm a little late on this one. Again, health issues and various other personal stuff have gotten in the way, but we're here now. That's all that matters. So, this is a line that came out in 1990, 89, 1990. I don't remember exactly when, but around that time. That's when the show came out. Long story short, and I go over this in the review, but it was basically meant to be a continuation of the Filmation cartoon, supposedly. But, yeah, not really. It's a long story, but needless to say, they tried to reinvent He-Man, and it quickly got forgotten about, and a lot of people hated it. But I think over the years, people have kind of come around to it a little bit. It definitely has its fans. They've re-released figures in, Masters of the Universe Classics. The Masterverse figures that are currently out as of this video have a couple of the characters. And, so on and so forth. So, that's nice. But, that's irrelevant. We're here to talk about the action figures. So, here's He-Man with his, helmet and armor that he does not wear in the cartoon. Very careful about taking this off because these figures tend to be a little fragile. Yeah, here's how he looked in the show, basically. This is like a little extra stuff for some reason. I'm guessing there was a little bit of either creative differences or maybe the toys weren't ready yet or something. I don't know. Digging up details on the show are kind of hard, but there he is now. He has blue jeans instead of his loincloth. He has a new sword, which is similarly shaped to the original sword, and he has his big green shield. One thing I do like is the translucent plastic, which is always very nice to see. But yeah, and as you can see, the build of the action figures is very different from the original. Here is a classic He-Man for comparison. As you can see, the arms don't move, or the elbows don't move. They do have a waist swivel. Usually the action is from the waist swivel on these figures, so we'll check that out. Yeah, there you go. He does a little ditty, I guess. A little tight. I'm imagining that's because of age. The legs are actually on a joint now, or a nice ball joint, rather, instead of the flimsy, does not age well rubber thing that they have their legs attached to in the original line. And the biggest innovation is they actually have knee joints, which is cool, because then I guess they can ride in the vehicles better. Although these legs are kind of universal. I mean, they can stand up pretty well when the rubber is not degraded. And, they've sat in their vehicles and accessories perfectly fine. These figures, though, in my personal accounts, I've come to find that they can be a little bit fragile, which is why I was very careful and actually hesitant about taking the armor off. I remember my original He-Man that I had as a kid, his leg popped off because you could see the very thin joint that the knee joint is, and yeah, one day it just kind of snapped off and I had a legless He-Man. I still had the leg. I kept trying to figure out how I can reattach it, but never could. That one was broken forever, which is probably why I don't still have it. So yeah, for some reason he has armor. You got a nice little slot here you can stick the sword in. Fun little fact about these figures, though. The molds for them were reused for of all things, the action figures for the movie Demolition Man. I believe John Spartan has this exact armor, and you can actually take. I saw a video where someone took the sword out and put it into his thing. Stallone as a He-Man. So we had we would have Stallone as He-Man, and we've already had Dolph Lundgren as He-Man. We just need Schwarzenegger to play it. Anyway, so yeah, these figures are okay on their own. I think I'm missing a piece on this shield. I'm guessing maybe there was like little bits that snapped onto his arm, but he still manages to hold it pretty well. They're okay as figures. They're just a little hard to swallow as Masters of the Universe figures, because this was a major like redesigning, reimagining. It's basically been accepted as its own separate continuity, but they played it off like it was a continuation of the Filmation cartoon, which it clearly wasn't, because it's so much different. But anyway, let's look at all the figures that I just happen to have. I don't have all of them, but I do have quite a few. The figures are a little bit on the pricier side, especially if you're trying to find the ones with all the accessories. It actually might be cheaper just to construct ones from bits and pieces people are selling. But anyway, here's one of the other good guys. Here's Lieutenant Flipshot, who actually kind of reminds me a little bit of Ace McCloud from Centurions. Those of you that are my age and know what that is. So yeah, he was the flying guy. He had his jetpack. There's a thing here. I don't know if there's something missing off of that. I'm going to have to double check. And something else here that I guess you can attach things to if you like. Maybe he can ride on top of it like a hoverboard. No, he'd be all the way on the edge. And he has this really cool wrist-mounted missile launcher, which is nice. His helmet's a little weird, though. Like, look at that. That's a little strange. There he is, looking very different from the cartoon. Another fun fact about this character, well, there's a lot of actually interesting bits about this character. In the international release, his name was Icarus. And I think that all the characters had different names for, like, the European releases and whatever. But Nerf actually trademarked the name Flipshot for one of their guns. So later releases of him, like in Masters of the Universe Classics, they had to actually rename him to Icarus. Because legalities, you know how it is. Stupid legalities. But is it, again, a very good-looking figure. Here's the thing off his back. I would actually love to know. I should check. I have Pixel Dan's Masters of the Universe guide, which honestly has been a big help for me because I've been trying to complete a lot of my Masters of the Universe figures. I'm not really hunting figures anymore, but I need lots and lots of accessories for them, and it's been very helpful, especially with this line, which I was not always so familiar with. But there you go. There's Lieutenant Flipshot. Next up for the good guys, we have Commander Hydron, the man who always wears his diving gear everywhere he goes. I mean, he takes the helmet off and stuff, but he's always like whenever they're in battle, he's always dressed like this, even if they're like in space. It's like, why? But yeah, he has his scuba gear here. The helmet looks a little bit yellowed. I'd imagine whoever owned him previously took him in the bath with him or the pool because he's the water guy. He has a swimming action, I guess, with both hands. Does he, the waist swivel, doesn't really, the gimmick of these figures with the waist swivel doesn't really seem to, work out that well. And, he has this weird thing. Your guess is as good as mine as to what it's supposed to be. Gun, stabby trident, I don't know. I do like weird guns where you look at them and it's like, oh, how does that work? And, there's a couple of them in this line, and they're great. But, yeah. See if I can take the helmet off without damaging it. Very scary. Don't want to do it. There we go. I'm going to straighten his head out, at least. There he is. Not much to say. He kind of reminds me of a 90s G.I. Joe figure, where they had, this coloring for a lot of them. He could be, Deep Six in the 90s, or, one of the water-themed G.I. Joes. But, nope. He is Commander Hydron. Hydron or Hydron. They kept saying his name both ways in the show. I'd imagine that was like a script issue. Oh boy. Another issue with these guys is that they're a little bit hard to get to stand up. So that is a problem. And finally, the only other good guy that I own, but it is a very good figure if his accessory will actually play nice. Here is Artilla, the robot character. I love this character. Definitely did not have him as a kid. I don't remember which of these guys were any of my originals. Hey, save your thing for when I'm ready for it. I don't remember if any of these guys were any of my originals. The Skeletor I'm about to show might be, but definitely not the He-Man because the leg is intact. But yeah, I don't remember any of these being my original. For all I know, I bought all these later. Stupid thing. Yeah, again, as you can see, the figures don't age very well. His whole thing is that he's just a robot with guns. This was supposed to, like, make this come out. And you got another one right here. Right here. There we go. Guns. Lots of guns. He's supposed to have a piece up here, but unfortunately I don't have that. If anybody happens to have that little piece, do get in touch. We'll talk business. But overall, he's a very good-looking robot figure. He does have one other feature, which makes me laugh every time. Check this out. What can that possibly be used for? Gets close to a guy and just slams his face into them. Doesn't seem very practical. This character is kind of interesting because he was very different in the cartoon. I guess he's either a cyborg or more of an android type because they gave him like a human face with an eye patch, or it might have been like a scouter or some kind of thing. But very weird that they redesigned a character that drastically in the show because for the most part, with the exception of He-Man and his armor, the figures and the characters in the show matched up pretty well, honestly. Not much else to say about him. We've gone through all of his features, even ones that were earlier on, that were released before I wanted to show. Thanks, buddy. He has weird legs that are kind of even when the knee is all the way up, a little squat. So maybe he'll see if we can get him to actually stand up. There you go. Yeah, you're blocking Hydron. And now you're blocking Flipshot. You know what? Stand there. There we go. So those are the 4 good guy characters I have. I do have more of the villains. So let's take a look at Skeletor. Now, I will say, despite the redesign of Skeletor, this actually looks pretty good. And I believe they reused this design for, like, future releases. For, like, Masterverse and... the other one. Wow, my brain is not working. Classics, right. Wow, jeez. In the show, however, he's kind of goofy because they gave him eyeballs. And you can actually see, I think, yeah, he has little red dots in his eyes, which look a lot better. But him having dumb eyeballs, and I guess with Artilla as well, the way they gave him a face, I guess it was meant to make them more expressive, but it just looks goofy. You know, they could have just gone with this. And then his design changed throughout the show, but yeah. The staff actually works pretty well. Well, the action feature of the staff works pretty well. He's got a helmet you can take off, and you can see that he is bald. A lot of technological stuff on him. They never explained it in the show, but in the continuity of the mini comics, and I guess the toy line, I believe he got into a battle with He-Man and got, like, seriously injured, and that's why he has all these augmented bits and pieces on him, so he's a lot different now. Otherwise, it does kind of read that he would be that way. I mean, he's blue, and the skull face, I wish I had my original Skeletor out so I can do comparison to that, but oh well. He has this very nice cape, which has held up surprisingly well over the years. I'm wondering actually if this might be a repro or something. I hope not, but yep, there's good old Skeletor ready to cause evil and be goofy on the show, just like he was in Filmation. Hey, maybe there's not that much difference between the two after all. Anyway, moving on. Let's talk about the leader of the mutants. Here is Flog, because he's got a whip weapon, and yeah, it's got a little thing on the end, and it looks more like a fishing rod. It actually goes over his hand, which is kind of neat because it stays on there very nice. He's got the red and silver on him. I do really like. He's got the big purple head, which his helmet comes off. He did not remove his helmet in the show, and I guess we now know that he too is bald, just like Skeletor. Oh boy. The helmet will go back on like that. Okay, good. He also has these shoulder pads, which I believe also come off, but I'm not going to bother with that. Yeah, so on the back of them, you can see good on him. They have this little thing here, this little crescent shape that you're supposed to, swing back and forth with your finger. But I believe a lot of them have tightened up over the years, and I'm trying not to mess with them because, like I said, these figures can be very fragile, so we want to treat them very nicely. All right, well, there's Flog, leader of the mutants, manipulated by Skeletor. Kind of dumb. I think in the show, his voice was kind of funny. I didn't show this in the video, but he talked like this. It's me, Flog. We're gonna fight the Primans and get the mutants in charge. Yeah, not the best leader, is he? And he actually can stand up because you can use his fishing rod as a tripod. All right, next up we have Slush Head, the swamp guy with another weird gun that he's apparently refusing to hold. There it is. I guess it's not that weird. It's got this extra thing on the end, but other than that, it's, I guess, pretty standard. This character has a domed head filled with, I assume that's oil, something, and it has surprisingly held up pretty well over the years. Like the head inside does not appear to be deteriorating. The stuff has not leaked out, whatever it is, so that's kind of cool. I always get nervous with characters like this as they age. Who's that one from the original? Skeletor, who has the thing on his chest with the blood, which is also like a red oil, and that one has surprisingly held up well. I'm wondering if maybe they got the same person who did Skeletor to take care of this guy, so they can have a long life with their weird oily features. So he has a backpack here, very asymmetrical backpack. In the show he had these little grabby hands coming out of his backpack. He was also kind of a goofball. Like, he was like the biggest comedy character on the side of the mutants. His legs surprisingly swivel. Look at that. I wonder if that's intended to be something. You can again see very clearly how fragile those little tiny bits of plastic are. So I'd imagine that the legs coming off are a bit of a problem with these figures, even though it's only happened to me once. So there you go. I guess I should consider myself lucky. Next up, we have a fan favorite, Optic. Optic is definitely a favorite among the collectors of these figures because, well, look at him. He's a robot guy with an eyeball on his head. And his action feature is he's got this thing, which actually moves the eyeball back and forth. So he can look around. You think he'll be able to see us? In ways you can't possibly imagine. And then he has his gun, which is fairly standard. It just looks like that one without the extra bit on the end. But yeah, Optic, definitely a favorite among collectors. They did put this character in the Classics line. I'm a little unclear as to whether or not he is actually a mutant or if he's a robot, because he's got a lot of robot bits, and then just the eyeball head, which isn't really functional. It's a shame he wasn't in the show that much, and they also gave him a weird voice. He sounds like he's wheezing. He's like, I can see them! So I don't know what that was all about. Maybe they were just like, how do we voice this character? And they were just like, I don't know, just make him sound weird. But yeah, a lot of detail on this guy too. Look at the little hoses and whatever the hell this thing is. And yeah, I really like this figure. This would probably be in my top maybe 10 or maybe 20 action figures of all time because he's very cool. So there you go, Optic. Go stand over there. And we'll bring out the last figure that I have. Probably the biggest joke character in the whole show. This is Karate. Known because he does karate chops. Because, you know, that'll stop He-Man, which was the joke I made in the video. Now he's got a weird gun. Look at this. What is that? How does that work? A lot of detail on this guy too. Look, again, these figures are very interesting to look at because there's a lot of textures and details on them, and there's like weird monster characters. The whole New Adventures of He-Man franchise is, it's not the worst thing ever. The show is kind of lame, but it's not terrible, and at least the action figures are kind of cool. Again, very fragile though. Fun fact about this guy, he's supposed to come with a knife also. And this figure actually did come with the knife. And I went to go slide it into his hand because it had a bit here that kind of slides over like that. The minute I tried to put it in his hand, the plastic bit here crumbled and turned to dust. So I just have this knife now that he can't hold, but maybe somebody else can hold. But yeah, that's kind of a shame. But yeah, pros and cons, I suppose. But yeah, there's Karate with his karate chops. All right, I'm gonna get you, He-Man. Just bash him with a shield. Didn't even use the sword. You don't deserve the sword. Okay, all right. You know what? The shield can sit out for a bit. I'm gonna leave him on the floor because he sucks. Unfortunately, that is all the action figures I have. But there are many others in the line. There were too many to name, actually. There were some that weirdly were part of the first wave of figures and just for some reason were not included. Well, they were included in the show, but they were like background characters or like one-off characters, or they had very, very small parts, or I don't know what that was all about. Maybe they just didn't find them that interesting. But yeah, it was kind of weird. There was also, you know, cool playsets. The mutant hideout, the skull-shaped asteroid was kind of cool. It's a big playset. Unfortunately, I don't have it. I didn't have any of the vehicles for these guys, unfortunately. But actually, I just remembered. I do have one other thing. Let me go get it real quick. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. This is me not being prepared. But the other New Adventures of He-Man toy that I have is I have the sword. Yes, the Roleplay Sword. Which is, you know, if you showed this to me and told me this is He-Man, I probably wouldn't believe you because it just looks like something you get at, like, bootleg shop or something. But it's got an H on it. That's He-Man, I guess. So yeah, this was the Roleplay Sword that was available. I think they had Skeletor's staff too, but I don't remember. And it is electronic. I did not put all the batteries in because I need to show you if I can get the damn thing open. As soon as you put the battery in. Oh, the power. Yes. We now have the power of Eternia, not Grayskull. So you have a trigger here. That is probably very loud. And it actually swings and acts like you're hitting something. That's kind of cool. These other buttons too. I don't know what these do. Oh. Just different sound effects and lights. Oh. Jesus Christ. It summons the ghosts of Atari. That just sounds like Atari sound effects. Can we shut it off? Turn off. Stop. Wow. I never really played with this before. I bought it a long time ago, and I used it in the video, but it never actually, like, occurred to me to mess around with it. That's a good noise. If anybody needs any sound effects, feel free to rip them from this video. That is probably insanely loud. I might have to actually mess with the video audio. Well, anyway, let me take the batteries out so we don't get any weird noises anymore. That is all of the Masters of the Universe, well, New Adventures of He-Man toys that I own. Again, it's a decent toy line. It's worth looking into if you're a fan of Masters of the Universe. And check out my video where I reviewed the show. Like I said, it came out very good, and very happy people were checking it out, considering how delayed it was. But yeah, so that is New Adventures of He-Man. Let me know if you had any of the other figures or toys in this line, because again, they're not bad. They're kind of cool if you give them a chance. Thanks for watching. Please give me a follow. This is not Twitch. I keep forgetting. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Leave a comment and check out my other videos. And be sure to check out my review on the main channel. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys later.